wrestling league. And to get funding for their wrestling show, they go take advantage of a benefit that the producer's mother is having for Nancy Reagan's Just Say No campaign to keep quote-unquote black babies off crack. And I sat there watching it going, you're gonna throw this fuck-off doll and dress up to the nines to keep black babies off crack, but you're not gonna do that to put food in their mouths. Oh my god. So, anyways, but that's I'm sorry. It just makes me so mad that people always focus on the wrong things. Like, oh, let's go save the poor starving children in Africa, but the poor black kids that live here in America, they can't even go to the same school as our kids because we don't want anything to do with them. But we're going to go feed the ones in Africa because that's the right thing to do. Oh, makes me mad. Okay. I'm going to get off that subject. So anyway, so after the benefit, and, and Hilly tells off Celia. Celia gets drunk and is trying to befriend Hilly, and Hilly makes it very clear that, I don't want anything to do with you, Celia Foots. You're trashy, trampy, so-and-so. You don't fit in. I mean, that whole spectacle just, is proof to me. Like, I love that the most glorious, sparkly person at that benefit was Celia, and yet she was the piece of trash. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry. Okay, so after the benefit, and Hilly assumes that Celia knows about the chocolate pie incident, which hopefully you know about. And she tells Celia off, and Celia goes home and mopes around, and Minnie says, look, here's what happened. Here's what she thinks you know. You can't give up, because if you give up, Hilly wins, and that bitch can't win. I mean, that's not what she actually says, but that's the spirit of it, right? But after that, and being empowered by knowing that at least that sort of knowing the truth about Hilly Holbrook is, and who's the queen bee and who's the creme de la creme of Jackson, Mississippi society, that's what empowers Celia to go, I didn't want to fucking be like her. Again, she doesn't say it like that, but that's the attitude. And that's when she goes out and she chops down that mimosa tree, symbolically saying, I'm not going to be like all the other women. That's fine. I'm going to be happy being me, working in my garden, making these roses bloom, and all that. She goes out there, she chops down that tree, and it's awesome. It is freaking awesome, and it is just one of those moments where you're like, yes! And you hear Queen playing in the background, we are the champions, and I really hope nobody sues me for that, because I've got enough legal problems right now, I don't need any more. But that's this awesome moment to me, and I think of all the white ladies in this book that, obviously, Hilly Holbrook is the villainess. There's something kind of cuddly about her, too, where you're just like, oh my gosh, you're such a bitch. And you make me laugh because you're such a bitch. And I kind of admire that. But you hate her. She's someone you love to hate. Elizabeth, you're kind of like, Elizabeth Lethal. Skeeter, I find relatable, and I like her, but Celia is my favorite. And like I just said, at that benefit, she's the most shiny, sparkly, person in the room, and yet she's the piece of trash. And so I really love Celia for what she did, and for chopping down that mimosa tree and symbolically saying, I'm not going to be like that. And even more so is, and maybe it's because she grew up white trash from the get-go. She doesn't see a difference between herself and Minnie Jackson. She doesn't see a difference. Yeah, sure, our skin color is different. She doesn't see the difference between the two of them. She doesn't see it. Because what she sees is that they are two people, that they are two women. Well, she's got her struggles with her fertility problems, with who she thinks she has to be, what she thinks she has to do with her life, etc., etc. And Minnie's got her struggles. That's all she sees is, I've got struggles, you've got struggles, and and to Celia, they're just two people. Minnie, being so jaded, and understandably so, I'm not saying this in a critical way, she's been told there are lines. And so she sees the lines. And it's really cool at the end for her to go, you know what? The only lines are the ones that I allow to exist in my life. And I mean, that's 1962, 1963, Jackson, Mississippi. Let's not kid ourselves. In reality, there were lines. There were legal lines. There were wrong lines. But in the context of her relationship with Celia Foote, that's I think ultimately what Minnie realized, and I love Celia for that. I love Celia for fighting the naked white man, which was another scene that didn't make it in the movie. I mean, it wasn't really time, but that was like, there's a naked white man in the background offering out his business like it's a po' boy sandwich. And Celia near about kills him because he took a swing at Minnie. And that's where Minnie goes, whoa. Wow. And that's really cool. When they start seeing each other simply as human beings with different kinds of struggles, different strengths and different weaknesses. That's really beautiful, that relationship. And at the end of the book, there's no definitive resolution with regards to Minnie and her marriage, which I'll get into next week to some certain extent. Hopefully I will have my notes. There's no definitive, resolution to that, but I like to think that Minnie took her 5 kids. Yeah, she had 5 kids, and she was pregnant with the next, which, I hope wasn't twins, but even if it was, she took all her kids and she went and moved into Miss Celia's pool house. That's what I choose to believe. So Miss Celia got to maybe not do the mother thing, but get to be, around kids. And Johnny got to be around kids, and Minnie's kids got to learn that not all white people are going to oppress them, and actually they might help them, the help. And I would love to believe that is what happened. I would love to believe that, because in that house they had 5. I think it was 4 bedrooms upstairs, and then there was the master bedroom downstairs that Celia and Johnny slept in. And then there was a 2-bedroom pool house out back. So I choose to believe that Minnie went and lived on site with the Foots. That's what I choose to believe. It's never confirmed, but that's what I choose to believe. So that's basically, excuse me, that's basically how that storyline goes in the book, okay? But here's some interesting information, and again, I really wish I had my notes, so I'm trying to remember as best I can. But here's some really interesting information about mimosa trees. They actually detoxify soil. So, like, I would assume that part of why they're so popular in the South is, if I recall properly, planting cotton too much can actually damage the soil permanently. And so you've got these mimosa trees that help sort of purify the soil so that you can continue to plant cotton. Like, I mean, it's not instantaneous, obviously. It takes some time, but you plant your mimosa trees and they detoxify the soil and they keep the soil healthy. So that's what they do. However, in Asia, mimosa trees, like their bark and or their leaves, so long as, you know, the where they're planted, the soil isn't like too toxic. I'm sure there's a way that they test for it. But you can use mimosa bark or root or leaves or something to make some kind of tea that they use to help treat depression and anxiety. So when I read that, I went, oh my gosh. So that adds this sort of like layer to this Miss Celia cutting down the mimosa trees. You know, she had some mild depression and anxiety about what her role was supposed to be. But the only way to treat that was to chop down the mimosa tree. Because that's the only way that you can make this, you know, treatment for depression and anxiety, is you've got to take it down. Well, I mean, obviously, you don't have to chop down the whole tree, but you get what I'm saying? Like, she had to take an axe to it on some level in order to cure her depression, her anxiety. Oh, I know! So, yeah, it's really interesting. But like I said, it doesn't show up in the movie at all, which really, like, I get it, but it kind of bothers me. I get it. It's like, how do you really well and truly do justice to that theme and to that symbolism on film? I'm sure there's a way that it could be done. And had this been a thing back in 2009, 2010, they could have turned it into a mini series on like Netflix or Hulu or something. Of course, as soon as you do like one season, they're like, oh no, we want more. You know, it's successful, and then you have to do a second season, and then you have to go, oh crap, we need more storylines. What else can we do to Hilly Holbrook? She's already eaten shit in a pie. Anyways, but yeah, but it's a really beautiful thing. And so again, if you haven't read the book, first of all, I don't know why you're this far into the podcast about the book, but whatever. But second of all, go out and read it. It's really good and it's really beautiful. So that's all I have to say about that. If you would like to follow me, excuse me, on social media, the username to look for is PurpleBecca923. Again, that's PurpleBecca 923. That is my username on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And with regards to Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, I always follow back unless and until you stop following me and or you send me something inappropriate and I'm just like, you know what? Block. Unfollow, block, possibly report, depending on how inappropriate it was. I actually had to block somebody the other day because I'm pretty sure he was a catfish scammer. I was like, well, yeah, found some pretty pictures to hide behind.